The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey is a self-improvement book. It is written on Covey's belief that the way we see the world is entirely based on our own perceptions. And in order to change a given situation, we must change ourselves. And in order to change ourselves, well, we must be able to change our perceptions. Here are the 7 habits. Habit 1. Be proactive. Proactivity does not imply merely taking the initiative. It is taking extreme responsibility for our lives and knowing that our behavior is governed by conscious choices based on our values and not based on conditions or feelings. Consequently, you don't blame your behavior on external factors, but own it as a part of conscious choice based on your values. When reactive people are driven by feelings, proactive people are driven by values. One way to do it is to start replacing reactive language with proactive language. So for example, instead of saying, "He makes me so mad," start saying, "I control my own feelings." Habit 2. Begin with the end in mind. To better understand this habit, Covey invites you to imagine that you are at a funeral, and sitting amongst are all your friends and families. And when you peek into the casket, you see yourself. Turns out, all these people are there to remember you. He asks you to think, how would you like your loved ones to remember you? What would you like them to acknowledge as your achievements? What kind of difference did you make in their lives? What kind of a person were you to them? Write down your initial thoughts. These impressions are likely central to who you are and who you want to be. These impressions will be useful to visualize your future best self. Covey states that the most effective way to begin with the end in mind is to create a personal mission statement. It should focus on the following: what you want to be, your character, what do you want to do, and the values upon which both these things are based. He invites you to identify the timeless, unchanging principles by which you live your life, because this will give you the guidance that you need to align your behaviors. Habit 3. Put first things first. Whereas Habit 1 encourages you to realize that you are in charge of your own life, and Habit 2 is based on the ability to visualize and identify your key values. Habit 3 is the implementation of these 2 habits. It focuses on the practice of effective self-management. By asking yourself those questions, you become aware that you have the power to significantly change your life in the present. In order to manage ourselves effectively, we must put first things first. We must have the discipline to prioritize our day-to-day actions based on what is most important. To manage your time effectively, your actions must adhere to the following. They must be principle-centered. They must be conscious-directed, meaning that they give you the opportunity to organize your life in accordance with your core values. They define your key mission, which includes your values and long-term goals. They give balance to your life. And finally, they are organized weekly, with daily adaptations as needed. Again, knowing your mission will give you the clarity to know when something falls outside of it and helps you steer back to your goal. Habit 4. Think win-win. In order to establish effective interdependent relationships, we must commit to creating win-win situations. These are the situations that are mutually beneficial and satisfying to each party. Imagine you're a salesman with a win-lose mentality. You take advantage of people. Surely, these people will not refer their friends or come back another time. In the long run, you have lost new customers and only gained a brief monetary victory. On the other hand, if you win and also give customers what they want, they will be happy to recommend friends and will be back the next time they need more of what you have to offer. Of course, there will be times when both parties cannot win. In this case, no deal should be sought, leaving future opportunities on the table. So adopt the abundance mentality and recognize there is enough for everybody. By giving more, you get more. Habit 5. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. If you want to improve your interpersonal relations, Covey argues that you must endeavor to understand the situation before trying to make yourself understood. The ability to communicate clearly is essential for your overall effectiveness, as it's the most important skill you can train. While you spend years learning to read, write, and speak, Covey states that the little focus is given to training the skill of listening. If you want to influence anyone, you must understand what they want. To know this, you need to listen empathically. To listen empathically requires a fundamental paradigm shift. Most people listen with the intent to reply, not to understand. At any given moment, they're either speaking or preparing to speak. Here are the few ways Covey describes to get yourself in the habit of seeking first to understand. The next time you're watching two people communicating, cover your ears and watch. What emotions are being communicated that might not come across through words alone? Was one person or the other more interested in the conversation? Write down what you noticed. Another exercise that he suggests is the next time you give a presentation, root it in empathy. Begin by describing the audience's point of view in great detail. What problems are they facing? How is what you're about to say offering a solution to their problem? Learning to listen deliberately will not only make you effective, it will also make you more likable. Habit 6. Synergize. When synergy is operating at its fullest, it incorporates the desires to reach win-win agreements with empathic communication. It is the essence of principle-centered leadership. It unifies and unleashes great power from people as it is based on the tenet that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. The real challenge is to apply the principles of synergetic creative cooperation into your social interactions. Covey argues that such instances of synergetic interpersonal group collaboration are often neglected but should be a part of your daily life. So how can we introduce synergy to a given situation or environment? Well, start with habits 4 and 5. You must think win-win and seek first to understand. Once you have these in mind, you can pull your desires with those of other people or group. And then, you're not on the opposite side of problem. You're together on one side, looking at the problem, understanding all the needs, and working to create a third alternative. What we end up with is not a transaction, but a transformation. Both sides get what they want, and they build a relationship in the process. The real essence of synergy is valuing the differences, the mental, emotional, and psychological differences between people. After all, if two people have the same opinion, one is unnecessary. When we become aware of someone's different perspective, we can say, "Good, you see it differently, help me see what you see." We seek first to understand, and then we find strength and utility in those different perspectives in order to create new possibilities and win-win results. Habit 7. Sharpen the saw. To be effective, we must devote the time to renew ourselves physically, spiritually, mentally, and socially. Continuous renewal allows us to synergistically increase our ability to practice each habit. Habit 7 is focused around renewal, or taking time to sharpen the saw. It surrounds all the other habits and makes each one possible by preserving and enhancing your greatest asset, yourself. There are 4 dimensions of our nature, and each must be exercised regularly and in balanced ways. The first dimension that Covey talks about is the physical dimension. The goal of continuous physical improvement is to exercise our body in a way that will enhance our capacity to work, adapt, and enjoy. To renew ourselves physically, we must eat well, get sufficient rest and relaxation, and exercise on a regular basis to build endurance, flexibility, and strength. Focusing on the physical dimension helps develop habit 1, muscles of proactivity. We act based on the value of well-being instead of reacting to the forces that keep us from fitness. The second dimension is the spiritual dimension. The goal of renewing our spiritual self is to provide leadership to our life and reinforce your commitment to your value system. To renew yourself physically, you can practice daily meditation, communicate with nature, or immerse yourself in music. A focus on our spiritual dimension helps us practice habit 2, as we continuously revise and commit ourselves to our values, so we can begin with the end in mind. The third dimension is the mental dimension. The goal of renewing our mental health is to continue expanding our mind. To renew yourself mentally, you can read a good literature, keep a journal of your thoughts, experiences, and insights. Limit television watching to only those programs that enrich your life and mind. Focusing on our mental dimensions helps us practice habit 3 by managing ourselves effectively to maximize the use of our time and resources. The fourth dimension is the social or emotional dimension. The goal of renewing ourselves socially is to develop meaningful relationships. The goal of renewing ourselves socially is to develop meaningful relationships. To renew yourself emotionally, you can seek to deeply understand other people, make contributions to meaningful projects that improve the life of others, maintain an abundance mentality, and seek to help others find success. Renewing our social and emotional dimension helps us practice habit 4, 5, and 6 by recognizing that win-win solutions do exist, seeking to understand others, and finding mutually beneficial third alternatives through synergy. To sharpen the saw means to express and exercise all 4 of these dimensions regularly and consistently. This is the most important investment you can make in your life, as you are the instrument of your performance. It's essential to tend to each area with balance, as to overindulge in one area means to neglect another. Finally, Covey says that living the 7 habits is a constant struggle for everyone. Everyone falters from time to time on each of the 7, and sometimes all 7 simultaneously. They really are simple to understand, but difficult to consistently practice.